like, let's say the United States. What is to stop them from becoming as powerful in the soccer market as England, France, Germany, Spain? It's the coaching. The onus is on the coach. If that accountability is there, because the players are there in any environment. Take, for example, Canada. What took Canada so long to not be just a hockey country? And now all of a sudden, we could win CONCACAF. Oh, we could beat Mexico in the U.S. What took them so just a couple of years? When I was playing, Canada and Haiti were almost on the same level, meaning both not relevant.
Right.
So what changed in Canada that has not changed in Haiti? You know, I have some Haitian players that I've been successful with, and someone could say, oh, you've won with Haitian players. Or when I had Sebi and them, you won with some kids out of Ocala. But if I'm not working with those kids, none of them are moving to those levels in the same way. Daniel right now is the only Haitian-born, Daniel Martin of Cincinnati, is the only Haitian-born player in the MLS, playing in the MLS Pro level.
Really?
Yeah, Haitian-born.
Wow. Yeah.
So what is that about? And they're 250 miles away from Miami. You see what I'm saying to you? So Tommy and Sebi going to Furman and Coastal Carolina and all that stuff like that, there's no more kids in Ocala doing that. It's coaching. So if the U.S. cannot jump the level to say we're better than England, we're better than France, we're better than Germany, it's the coaching level. And I'm part of the coaching level, so I'm not taking shots at anybody. I'm just saying it's the coaching level that has to change. You know, I'm very involved in the process of what goes on in Haiti as far as I know what's going on there with the coaching and all that stuff like that. And I tell them that all the time. That's the biggest difference. The level of coaching has to raise. But if I could say that about Haiti, I have to be honest and say that about the United States. Because how long have we been circling around the level where we're better than, you know, the other Caribbean teams, and we're better than maybe the lower end European teams.
Right.
But then that's where it stops.
Right.
You know, the lower South American teams, but that's where it stops. So that's a coaching thing. That means we have not properly identified and developed the players that could help take us to the next level. And that's coaching. The players can't affect that. There is no miracle player. Every country that does well, it is coaching. The coaching is at a high level, so that means they identify players. So to go back to your question as far as how do a coach weigh that, it's so hard to weigh because, you know, Neil, TC's father, will always say it's either you got it or you don't got it.
Right.
And I think even that's less with players, even though that is true to a certain degree. But I'm telling you even more with coaches. It's either as a coach, and every coach has to learn and evolve. I coach completely differently than what I used to coach when I first met Bryson, completely differently. But then at the same time, you have to have an eye to understand how to see a player, what a player is, what levels can they get to, and all these things like that. I mean, when I took Bryson and them to Chile, if you look at the resources that we have at our club, and to think that we could tie Colo-Colo 3-3, that makes no sense logically.
Right.
Logically. This year, we just tied Atlanta United 1-1 in Atlanta. Arguably, we were favored to win the game if you see the game. I say that arguably respectfully. But if you see that, look at their resources and look at our resources.
Right.
That logic makes no sense. So now if we're the U.S. structure and we have that amount of resources from Nike and all these sponsors and all this way to identify and develop, give them competitive games, large country with a lot of people. I've been in coaching courses where you hear people arguing that, oh, we're not good because we're too big. That's crazy to me. I would love a massive player pool. But
can you say coaching alone can take the United States to where soccer is not the main sport and compete with the countries where soccer is the main sport, the main attraction, where a lot of players growing up desire to play every day. You know what I mean?
100% yes.
Coaching alone.
100% yes. Because again, I would have to go back. If a team from Gainesville can tie Colo-Colo, which is one of the biggest clubs in South America, then how could the U.S. soccer system not change the structure to say now we are better than France? Now you're going on the players, right? Saying it's not this. There are so many players in the United States to choose from that are on the radar and also off the radar, that if you dive deep into the soccer market, there's plenty of players there with the attributes and with proper development. They have the tactical capacity to play at the highest levels of the game. Because it should be, You know, and I understand you're not a soccer guy like that. But again, that would be like, for basketball terminology, how would you compare a legacy team tying Colo-Colo? That would almost be like me taking a AAU basketball team, right? And a men's team.
Right.
And tying, or, you know, playing the Golden State Warriors into overtime. That logic wouldn't make any sense. I'm serious though. It wouldn't. No, by sports and resources wise, it wouldn't make sense, because the boys that I took, none of them were on MLS academies, right? None of them were on national teams, and we're able to go play against kids that are on Chilean national teams, that some of them right now are playing in Europe. Wow. And we're able to play them in games, and even one team we beat O'Higgins 5-1. So that where did these players come from? Yeah. Because I'm not an MLS academy. We're a very small club. So
I mean, but literally, I mean, like within 2 to 3 years prior was when the Gainesville won the first state title they ever did here. Ever, yeah. I mean, they weren't, you know, like prior to that happening, the Gainesville soccer legacy was not anything that made waves in the state of Florida.
Didn't a note at all.
Yeah. I mean, if you went to just, you know, regular teenage tournaments in the state of Florida and you saw Legacy in the bracket, like that didn't move the pulse of anybody.
Exactly.
Just another team out there.
Wow.
You know.
So if that could be done in Gainesville, then you can't say you have the whole United States to choose from, and we're playing against top international competition. Then of course it could be done with the U.S. national team. I believe it could be done overnight. That's the argument I have to the guys in the Haitian Federation, that this could be done within a World Cup cycle, so you could have massively competitive teams that are out there. I mean, it's not complicated, but as I said, there's far better players than coaches.
But when we talk about that too, though, when you say could happen overnight, you're not just speaking of a new national team coach. You're talking about there being some depth of coaching that's pushing more players forward properly.
Yes, it has to, because the senior national team coach, he's only able to work with who he has at the pro market level.
Right.
So you can't look at Greg Berhalter and say, how can you change the system, outside of him trying to influence the lower levels of what they need to identify.
Right.
But you need to have it to where the coaches, I mean, even often if you look at a lot of college coaches, most of them are not, you know, a lot of them were grandfathered into their positions. They were not killing it at the youth levels before they got to those positions. Yeah. So that's an issue, because they're going to bring that lack of success into their college job.
Well, I mean, I've coached a lot of basketball, not at super, super high levels by any means, but, you know, I just deeply feel that there's, in basketball's our sport, there are way more crappy coaches in all sports than there are good ones.
Yeah.
Well, it is a rare feeling when you coach a game and you feel like, God, that guy on the other side's good. That's rare.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've coached in high school settings, AAU settings, men's league stuff. Like, it's just so rare. I like when my kids were small, I coached some flag football and some, you know, some soccer, and it's like, you just it's just absurd. But more often than not, like you literally have no respect for the other person you're coaching. You don't think they're capable of doing a damn thing, and you're right. You know, I mean, it's shocking, but it's true.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff at, you know, whether it be here or, you know, in other places that I've been, that has been the level of coaching competency is not there, and it affects the players. And so that's why I said that, you know, development is a real thing, but there's a lot of people selling development but not actually developing the players. And it's often because in business you have measurement. So, you know, in soccer, a coach should be judged by the performances of their team. So it's not just about winning, but you need to be able to measure the coach. But often you have a lot of coaches, especially in youth, I can only speak for soccer that I've been involved in. You have a lot of coaches saying they're developers, but then if you look at this, like, what have you developed? You just have the title of a coach. But what is your measurement? What is your resume to say these are the players that I've sent off to here who I directly coach and I followed through and pushed them to these levels.
Right.
And you don't often see that with a lot of youth coaches.
No.
You just
and you'll see the occasional outlier where they happen to have one or two super talented kids, and they'll try to live off that for the next 20 years.
Yep.
I coached Kevin Durant when he was in 8th grade.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like Kevin Durant was great. You probably had a small thing to do with it.
Yeah.
But where's anybody else that you develop?
Right. That'd be like if I'm sitting here right now telling parents in Gainesville that, hey, I could really help and develop your kid, and the only thing I could do is recite back to Brian Son's team, and say, hey, that was my team, even though there was a lot of work put into that. But then at the same time, I have to keep producing. And that's on me. That's not even that I wouldn't even say pressure. That's what I enjoy doing because I want to make sure there's a consistent product being put out there. And so, but a lot of coaches, like you said, at best, they're just like they had a state championship team and that's pretty much it. And they're living on that, or one kid who made the national team and they're living on that. So it's just, what are you consistently, that's who you are. And so I think that a lot of times, that's my personal experiences. There's far better players, I'm telling you, than there are coaches.